4 key takeaways to help you pass your upcoming ACCA June 2024 SBL examination. In today's video, I'm going to take you through those key areas using my exclusive notes that would I let you down? Of course not. If you'd like them, click the link in the description of this video. You'll get all my insights. You can have access to them on your own computer. And I'm also delighted to say I'm affiliated and associated with Astranti. You'll be able to actually, again, if you click the link in the description of this video, access their free, that's free pre-seen ACCA SBL pack. And if you were to buy any of their mock exams or courses on there, they have a 100% money back guarantee if you don't like it on there. And for pure transparency, if you were to buy any of those, clicking any of the links in the description of this video, I would be entitled to a small commission which goes to helping and supporting the YouTube channel, which as ever, thank you so much for all the support. I'm so pleased the video has helped. Leave me a comment below. How are you getting on with your preparation? If you've got any questions, and be sure to subscribe so you get access to all of the videos to help you pass from PVS, which we'll be going through today. That's for Procuro Vet Services on there. So without any further ado, let's get on to that first key takeaway. That if I was in your shoes, this is it. This is what is going to be one of the key areas to help you pass. And these are my notes, which again, as you said, I hope you're enjoying them if you've downloaded them yourself, because the first one is how the business is being run. And the bottom line straight away, we've got to go to that ownership on there. And we've got, Pitier on there. I hope I've pronounced that right. We've got the breakdown of the 8 directors, Pitier on there, who is no longer in active involvement of the management, but still owns 11.1% of the shares. So that's where we've got 8 directors, Pitier for our extra one, 9 in total. But it's from that how it is actually being put into practice. The first thing was that we've got it all equity finance. That was my first thing for my notes, as you can see on the screen on the right-hand side. Possible hint of some maybe debt that could be brought in on the requirements. Capital structure questions could be thrown in there. We've then got the breakdown of the executive chair and the different roles. But this is where it gets interesting. As to, first of all, imagine you are the COO, the Chief Operating Officer. And it's this paragraph on here that in order for the Chief Operating Officer to get the information how the business is actually operating, it has clinical managers up to 10 that then send messages to senior veterinarians who are super busy working 7 days a week, not being told how many that's actually going to. Then that message then goes to district managers, that they have 5 of those, and then it gets to the Chief Operating Officer, who then has to make strategic decisions and has the responsibility of the day-to-day operations of the business, what to be put into practice. And when I read it through, I just went, oh my gosh, so many things to balance and parties not to upset on there, because obviously the Chief Operating Officer then relates back to the board of directors, and then it's going to relate into other financial areas and decisions, such as maybe are they going to declare a dividend on there, cash flow, expenditure on capital or revenue expenses, all these sort of things. And they're going, that is one of the reasons why this business, for the last 5 years, if we have a quick look at the performance on the charts, the revenue has been dropping. It's dropped 5.7% in the last year. In terms of the staff who are working there, the satisfaction score has been going down for the last 4 years. New clients have dropped off. Staff turnover has increased. So this business, in how it is being run from the top down, has not been done effectively. And in terms of most of the decision making, this is all centralized, as you can see where my mouse is on the left-hand side. Any new services, salary levels, basically the directors have all the control as to how this business is being operated. And that's even before we get on to other areas, which I think you've just got to be on your toes for this exam, that they do not have an audit committee, a nomination committee, a remuneration committee on there. And this is where we come back to that overall structure of those 9 individuals, and they only have one non-executive director, a Ned, on there. Now, this is where we have an unlisted company. It's not had an IPO, an initial public offering on there for the public to buy it, but you kind of get a whiff as to saying, hang on, if it was to go and be listed, then we'd need at least half of the board to be non-executive directors. And that's one of those things that you think, oh gosh, could they throw that out on the exam date? Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but it's just one of those things that you read between the lines and go, hang on a second, it just doesn't feel right. And the way that the business has been operating, as I said, over the last few years, the change in the way that the customers are now sort of from a younger age, under 35, they've really not adapted to it. And Pitier has been retired and is off the involvement now. Could be a factor involving in it, but that would be my first key takeaway, just to be aware for the exam day. Something will come up in terms of the board and the roles and responsibilities, and you've got to refer to those directors specifically, what they're doing and who is accountable on there. A must, I would say, ahead of your SBL exam. So that nicely brings me on to key takeaway number 2 now, which is Precuro on there isn't doing very well, right? Why is it not doing very well? These are the sort of things as to saying you have to have a solid understanding of the wide varieties for it. So let's start it off for PVS. Clinics are open for PVS, where my mouse is on the right hand side, from 8:30 in the morning to 5:30 Monday to Friday. We're told in the actual document that clients want, these are the people with the pets, they want 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on there. You could have a look through the notes, and I've just put it up on here for telehealth on the side there, which they are willing to actually provide. And then when it comes to, here we go, long working hours, challenges in Ireland, 365 days a year, and it's led to work-related stresses for 5% of the staff. And that nicely brings us on to the next area of staff turnover. In other words, how quickly do staff enter a company and then leave? So in this highly stressful industry that we call veterinary on there, and the vet practices, 13% is the average for Ireland on here. But if we go back down to the selected summary and we look at Precuro on here for their vet services, they're at 19% for their staff. So in terms of the way that they're actually going about it, the staff are not staying around for a long time. And if you were to have a look at the strategic objectives on the right hand side there, the board of directors have put down that they want to be leaders in the vet care and client services, retaining staff so we can deliver the best client service. Well, that just, I'm afraid, is not happening on there from the way that the business is being operated. And then we've got to consider their actual strategic position now. So this is, right, let's think about this moving forward in terms of the strategic position, how it's currently operating, and look 3 to 5 years into the future, and how are we going to go from the 5th largest to maybe the 4th or the 3rd, who knows, on there in terms of acquisitions. So straight away, it's really good that 85% of PVS's clinics are in the town centres. People aren't wanting to travel, they want to be in a popular location and easily for convenience purposes. But then in terms of innovation, they're saying that they're going to actually, and they're really good at it, they've won numerous awards for acupuncture of pets and therapy for the pets. But if we go up to the areas of revenue for the services provided, it's all about vaccinations, medical treatment, prescriptions on there. So are they specialising in something which is of a very, very small niche that the majority of pets are not actually wanting, or pet owners, should we say, are not wanting to actually have? Quality of service, PVS, actually had a really excellent reputation. And this is where, over the years, the staff have actually left, they've had change in ownership, and it really hits home that it explains it really nicely. I'll put my mouse on it, that this would be a great phrase for you to actually reference that they've won awards 11 times, but in the last 6 years, which relate to those overview changes and summaries that we saw in the graphs, they are for the last 5 years, and they've not won an award in the last 6. So it is definitely the last 5-6 years, things have not been going well, and it's that strategic position not being on top of the actual declines in revenues, competitors coming into the market, being undercut. All these sort of factors are really relating to them not performing effectively and could lead to them being acquired on that. So that's tip number 2 in terms of a key takeaway. Number 3 now is the vet market in Ireland. These are the clients, the sort of opportunities, the cost, the competition, and straight away the clients and their expectations. It's all about the clients want, and they will move, because the majority, 60% of new pet owners in Ireland are actually under the age of 35 in the last 5 years. They are more price sensitive. They are not loyal in terms of where they go to. But then in terms of the actual vet market in Ireland, we see on one hand, if I come down to the diagrams at the bottom, we see that the revenue of PVS has actually been going down year on year on year. But then if you go to the overview for the stats of Ireland on here, and then you go to yourself, right, okay, the industry of an outlook on here, we go, over the last 5 years, it's been increasing by 3.5%, and it's expected to go up by 6.8% to 2.67 billion on there. So something is going wrong at Precurvo Vet Services, that they're just not operating effectively. There is opportunity there. This is where your SWOT analysis can come into it, that is a massive market, 2.67 billion, and they're currently, what was it, 170 million or so, which again, you've got to say to yourself, there is definitely room on there for them to make the most of it. In terms of costs, this is where it comes down to the staff on here. So this is the veterinarians, the vet nurses on there. They are the biggest fixed costs. But then do not overlook, this is where I think they could throw it in the exam, some admin, premises, health and safety costs on there, all super important in terms of maintaining a quality of service, client satisfaction, and should not be overlooked in terms of profitability margins on that. With the last thing I've got down on my notes in terms of the vet market itself is the competition, where look at those market percentages. You've got Gloas, Belston, Hude. They are the market leaders. They own 52% altogether. And you've got to say to yourself, you've got to remember those names, that they could be thrown out there in a requirement set on the exam day. But the way that PVS is actually going, it's currently the 5th largest at 6% market share, but it could be acquired. It could have a merger with another company. Who knows on there? But it's a case of it's not looking rosy-nosy, and if they don't do something about it, or you would have to advise about doing something about it, applying your SBL knowledge, that is where you need to be on your toes for the exams. That is the vet market in Ireland. You've got to know it like the back of your hand on there. And then tip number 4. I hope you've stayed around to the end now. I might get told off for this one, but tip number 4 is exam hunches on there. And this is where we've got to go to areas where, when I read this through, and if you check out the notes, you go through it in detail yourself, technology, health and safety, the vision, the values, one area of telehealth on here, actually utilizing communication and technologies to actually remotely get in touch with clients. We have for Precurvo on here, they only use face-to-face. Their technology that they have in place doesn't actually allow you to book a meeting online on there, for instance. It's a off-the-shelf package. It's a standard package. They've not had updates in 8 years. I think in terms of risks and looking at that risk register, that could be a potential area. The next one for your notes is in terms of the values on here. And I'm rolling out my inner youth of saying red flag on here. But if you look at this, we are transparent, open, and stand for what we believe is right. And again, linking to something on the lines of health and safety, what could possibly go wrong as to What if one of the pets died unfortunately in the practice? Or what if one of the clients actually got injured? Or what if something happened to one of the practices and it caught fire and we had a lawsuit? Something like that. And you can see it in the risk register on here. Health and safety is one of the risks. We have a description on the side there: failure to comply with health and safety legislation. And you're going, it gives us a little whiff, but then could we get more information on the unseen information on there? Could it get worse? Most likely, and please expect this in your exam, to not be rosy-nosy. There are going to be things that are going to go wrong. It's up to you to actually say to yourself, right, how can I apply my SBL knowledge, and where does it link to the preceding information on there? There was also bad publicity on there, and they've got it on the risk register from mistakes in diagnosis and treatment. I think there's an overlap there in terms of health and safety, but they've not really mentioned anything about bad press. This could come up again in the unseen information, but they're just throwing out their little hints. And I just, when I read it through, I just went, hang on a second, that's something just doesn't sound right there. And last but not least, if we have a look at the career opportunities, where maybe you want to go and work at PVS on here, the last sentence: we have clear strategies in place to ensure fair play, fair treatment, and to stamp out discrimination and to encourage diversity. Working for PVS on there. And after reading through all the preceding notes, I go, well, they haven't mentioned anything about discrimination. They haven't mentioned anything about diversity on there. And I think, well, why would they make that statement? I mean, surely that's giving us an inkling as to, are they going that way? Could they throw something in? They touched on as well about 5% hold a higher level in terms of the standards. We're not told if PVS actually have it. If they did, they probably would say it on there. But there are lots of things where I'm just going, oh my gosh, hang on a second. Staff satisfaction is 60 out of 100. We haven't had any information in terms of salaries or discounts. There's a lot of things that give me, I don't even want to say the ick on these things, but I'm just there going, there's so many things to this company that you go, even about the superstores and the general advice being given out by just people who work at the shops who've got pets on there. All these little things that could come back to bite the company, along with the board of directors, and potentially one of the other ones was losing staff, or they actually have a couple of their practices that actually only have one or two vets in it. And if you've got staff satisfaction at an all-time low for the data we have here, if you were to lose one or two vets from that particular area, then the practice wouldn't be able to function on there. And that's going to lead to a downward spiral for the organisation. But nevertheless, guys, that concludes and gives us our last bit of exam hunches. You will find a lot more actually in the preceding notes that I've linked for you down below. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. A lot to go through in such a short space of time. That's why I've done more videos on the channel. So make sure you click one of the videos above and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of them. And I hope you've liked the video, and be sure to click the links in the description to make the most of the resources to get you over the line to get that pass. So I'll see you on the other side for another video soon, and best of luck.